All right, guys, we're back here with episode 29 of the HYPEWORKS podcast with myself, Alex, and Jake, color coordinating again.
Uniform.
And Craig Santicchia. It does feel like we have a lot of really complicated names on the show. Santicchia is right?
Yeah, that's a great pronunciation. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah, good stuff.
many people try over the past, but that's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jake, do you mind taking it away?
Well, I think we'll start from the beginning. Really, I think Craig, it's nice to have you on. Over to you. It'd be good if you could introduce yourself, what you're doing now, and a bit about how you got there, and then we can sort of go from there.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on, and it's great to see your faces again. And I'm Craig. I'm managing director of a company called Wolfpack Gaming. We're a gaming culture agency, specialising on gaming platforms like Roblox, Fortnite, esports as a culture in general as well. I suppose a bit about me and my background. So my roles have primarily been commercial partnerships, both in sports, in tech, IT. But I suppose where the story really began was a few years back now in 2016, when I discovered this thing called esports, and I was like, whoa, that's the future right there. I've got to be involved in that. A role came up at one of the biggest esports rights holders called Fnatic. They're a team, 25 million fans worldwide. Managed to grab the opportunity there, worked my way up within the business to global partner development director, which is on the commercial side, globally responsible for that on the business. Managed to scale the revenues by 300% in 3.5, nearly 4 years. And worked with the likes of BMW, Gucci, Monster Energy. And then all of a sudden I saw this thing happening on the gaming side, away from esports, the likes of Fortnite being like these open platforms, and did a deal with Lavazza where we created an Icons of Italy map inside of Fortnite. And I was like, whoa, is this where this is going? And a guy called Eric, who I work with, was like, yes, I've set up a business called Carter, where it would be a game studio. Why don't you come on board as a co-founder? And so my story at Fnatic kind of ended, went into Carter and got that built and set up off the ground. We worked with Unilever, creating the Sunsilk City experience in Roblox, which got over 42 million plays, went truly viral. We've got Manchester City through the door with nearly 10 million plays on their experience. And then subsequently sold my equity in that company, just as we were leading up to an investment round, raised just over £1 million. So that happened all at the beginning of last year. And then also at the same time, I had started Wolfpack Gaming, which was very much born out of esports. So primarily a commercial consultancy to help the esports teams professionalize their commercial properties to get more revenue through the door. And as I was going through that, I also managed to pivot a little bit into the sponsorship space. So managed to close the Tezos Misfits Gaming deal, which was an 8-figure deal, which was great. And then also after my NDAs and everything else with Carter were kind of put out the way, managed to pivot the company again into digital experiences. So now we very much focus on platforms like Roblox and Fortnite, as I've discussed already. And so we have those 3 core pillars now of consultancy, sponsorship, and digital experiences. And on that point, we do a very 360 holistic approach. So it's anything from the strategy and the creative through to the marketing, and the actual builds themselves. So yeah, it's been quite a journey. It's been nearly 3 years to the day actually that I started doing all this. So yeah, I suppose you guys have got the celebration party or something today.
Well, we're celebrating the second round of the podcast. The viewers, the hardcore listeners out there might know what we're talking about, but we won't go into that. So Craig, we want to know, we always like to go back. You've given us an in-depth career history there, but why don't you talk us through like the first getting the startup off the ground, where it's really gone and how gaming has evolved since you first started being involved in it?
Yeah, well, I mean, gaming culture is very much taken over for the new generations, in particular Gen Z and Gen Alpha. 88% of Gen Z play video games regularly. A lot of them, like over 25%, will watch esports. To put that into context, that's more than they'll watch like the NHL. So, this culture has really started to take off. Over 3 billion gamers worldwide, but the challenge for brands and sports properties and even governments is that traditional methods of marketing don't really impact on these generations as effectively as they once did. I saw a Microsoft study saying that Gen Z's attention span for an advert is 8 seconds, right? Which I think is even less than a goldfish potentially in terms of their memory. So you have this incredibly short attention span. And it's a very loud space, and they feel that these adverts are kind of inauthentic and quite intrusive. Their parents, the millennials like myself, also have grown up with a distrust around advertising, with Cambridge Analytica and everything that popped off there with Meta. So all these kind of things have impacted that Gen Z in particular, their behavior when it comes to adverts. So, ad blocks are a big thing with over 63% having ad blocks. So that's where we kind of really come in and we help those brands, those sports properties, those governments gain access to this audience through better storytelling, through 6-minute gameplay engagement versus a 0.1 second scroll on an ad. And as a result, we're seeing much better results. One of our clients, Qatari government, we recently did an experience called Qatar Adventure inside of Roblox within a popular game called Livetopia. We managed to get over 7 million people playing in 7 weeks, so 1 million people a week. We've got 84% said they're more likely to go to Qatar now and visit it, which was great for the tourism board. And we got all these other amazing metrics in terms of media value. We generated millions in media value. So yeah, it's all really good and exciting. So it's brilliant to be at the early stages of what's going on here, but there's still a lot of work to do. I suppose on the kind of setting up the company side of things, typical kind of startup mode, right? Recurring revenue is always a challenge. How do we scale in a sustainable way? Hiring the right talent, and how do we get access to that talent to make, when you're such a small team, the people really do make or break your business moving forward. And then making sure you've kind of got that one ear to the ground all the time about where the technology's going, where the industry's going. So all that, it makes it a lot of fun, but obviously with its challenges, but that's where the opportunity really lies.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground there. We're going to have to go back. I've got a couple of questions here. So you're going to have to explain for some of our older listeners what Roblox is and what it really means to younger people. And secondly, when you're hiring talent, are you now hiring younger people that have experience, that really live in that world? Or are you hiring older people that have experience in the working world?
Yeah, so I suppose on the gaming side of things with Roblox. So Roblox is a digital platform that has an encyclopedia of games, right? And those games are called experiences because with platforms like Roblox, it's not just about the entertainment; it's about the social connection. Entertainment is definitely a part of it, but it's about the connection, socialization, and the ability to form social structures within this environment. So, for example, a lot of people on Roblox will put a real strong value on a digital item versus a real life item, because that digital item is where it lives in their social structure. So Roblox has 71 million people every day playing it, and that's growing exponentially. So to put that into context, that's bigger than the populations of Canada and Australia combined every single day. There's 60 billion messages sent on Roblox every single month. Which is more than WhatsApp. So you'll understand now, like this is a social platform, right? It's not just a game. So that's what Roblox is, and there's an opportunity for brands to integrate into those experiences and tell better stories through advertising, through events, and creating their own worlds and utilizing their influencers to do it.
Craig, can I ask a question about Roblox?
Yeah.
Is Roblox like
Yeah.
because I'm not a gamer anymore. I used to be a gamer, but is
Mm-hmm.
is like Roblox bigger than like Fortnite, like in terms of like users and like engagement and momentum, or
Yeah. Yeah. So it's
what's the
bigger. In terms of numbers, it's bigger than Fortnite.
Mhm.
Fortnite still generates, I think it's around 250 million people a month, but it is bigger than Fortnite. The
Right.
age demographics skew typically, historically, a bit younger than Fortnite. However,
Mhm.
Roblox, through investor pressure, has been pushing hard the 17 to 24 category. That 17 to 24 category now is bigger than Fortnite's. In terms of numbers. So it's interesting to see where it's going. When it comes to like the hype cycles, I'd say Fortnite has a bit more hype around it right now because of the Disney investment, Lego, and the worlds that they're building on the Unreal Engine, which is where you create your worlds within Fortnite. But kind of see Roblox as a YouTube of gaming, right? So
Mhm.
you have your creators, you have your content, and then you have the platform, and it's very similar. And how you interact the different marketing kind of pillars towards that is very much the same. So advertising, events, influencers, it all speaks the same language, right? So does that answer your question, Luke? Or
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like a
just
digital world.
yeah. And has PUBG like fallen off a cliff? Is that kind of dead?
I don't think it's dead per se, but it had its
Yeah.
challenges because
Yeah.
obviously in India they decided to just pull the plug on it, right, for a little bit. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's still going on politically, but different games have different audiences. So let's think of sport, right? A cricket fan is very different to a football fan, and a football fan is very different to a rugby fan. There's maybe a tiny bit of circle in the middle that they cross, but typically they're very different, and gaming's very much like that. So PUBG has a very unique audience, as does Counter-Strike 2, as does League of Legends, as does Roblox, as does Fortnite, right? So it's understanding where your brand fits within those demographics. So if you're an Indian brand, for example, PUBG is huge in India. If you're an Indian brand that is a mobile provider, PUBG is played on mobile a lot, for example, then PUBG is a great opportunity for your brand to get into that audience. Or if India is a strategic market of focus. Whereas if America was a focus for you, then Fortnite or Roblox would be a good way to get in, and so on and so forth.
And
Yeah.
so, just to come back to the staff situation, I know
Mm-hmm.
we're covering a lot. Are you hiring younger people or people with
Yeah.
experience?
So at the moment, typically hiring younger people, people that are experienced on the Roblox platform. So, people who've been around on it since 2009. People think Roblox is a new thing. It's been around since 2004. So finding people that have been on the platform for many years is a big thing. Individuals that are skewing younger in terms of their age, because that's the audience we're actually trying to capture. So utilizing their kind of user knowledge and helping our clients when it comes to creative strategy and what really resonates with the audience. That's really important. However, more on the leadership level, that's where we're looking more at the experience side. So individuals that are very good at people, right, at dealing with people, and how you get the most out of very high potential young talent that are still that kind of raw gem, but how do we mold them into something where they're going to be beneficial to obviously the business themselves as an individual and wider society. So that's very much a big focus.
Okay. So I guess I have a question, okay, because we almost talk about AI on every single podcast, and do you think
Jake, we should
AI
take
is
a shot
creeping into
every time
gaming?
we should take a shot every time we talk about AI.
That is so true. Do you think AI is going to impact gaming? Do you think it will drive users more into a gaming space? Are we going to be living in VR headsets and in the virtual world of Roblox in 10 years from now?
Is it impacting the industry? Yes, it is already. I'll give it to you on a bit more of a simpler scale. Let's take websites, right? So remember, like 10, 15 years ago, to create your own website, you would need, a specialist, right? Who would cost you quite a bit of money. You'd have no idea about what they're doing in terms of coding. And for us three on the call, it would be near impossible to create a website like 15 years ago. Now, any one of us three can go onto Wix.com or whatever it is, Squarespace, and we could build a website from scratch, right? Because the tools within it have already done it for us. There's still that need for specialist knowledge, but it's become a lot more niche. That's kind of what AI is doing on the game development side. So there are tools now where you can put in a prompt. So let's take Roblox. You go into Roblox Studio to build your experience. You could put in a prompt now, and the AI will build that thing for you inside. It's still very early days, but that's where it's tracking. So I predict, I could be wrong, but in the next 10 years or so, maybe even quicker, that, just like how on websites, we wouldn't be able to build games ourselves. However, in 5-10 years, maybe we'll be able to go on AI and actually build games ourselves. So that's how it's impacting the industry today, particularly on Roblox.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's very scary for both Alex and I as well. Well, not scary, but in the sense of we had a guest on last week, and this was really the discussion. It's you're going to be somebody that's above the AI waterline or someone that's below it. You're either going to be managed by AI or the manager of AI. Because even in our industry, like you said, specialized knowledge, SEO, we had an SEO guest on the other week. It's democratized the access to information, and it's also democratized the ability to actually utilize that information and apply it in a specific function. And with AI, it's very general. So it can be applied in so many different domains, especially if something is text-based or code-based or language-based. It doesn't matter whether, a developer's code like Java or CSS or, name one is still a code in the end of the day, which is a language. So I can see how that's impacting gaming particularly. So what kind of sponsorships have you got on now? Oh, sorry, clients are you onboarding and working with?
Yeah, so just to quickly wrap up the AI bit, I use AI personally pretty much every day, whether that's Gemini or ChatGPT. We've used Midjourney. Midjourney is used within our decks, for example, to help create amazing imagery. Like on my presentations, there's a lot of, we're called Wolfpad Gaming. There's a lot of like these futuristic wolves that was all generated by Midjourney, for example. Some of our videos also created by it. So it's a really cool technology, I think. But going on to your next point, sorry. So we work closely with brands, sports properties, and in particular governments, which I suppose might sound a bit weird, government and gaming. But the recent work we've done was with the Qatar International Media Office. Basically, they came to us with a particular challenge, which is they wanted to very much be seen as the leaders in the metaverse space or gaming space, and they just didn't know where to start. So had a call with a few individuals, proposed a particular strategy, which was long term, slow and steady in terms of its scale, and we managed to do a really good brand integration into a already popular Roblox IP called Livetopia, which has over 4 billion total plays. So it's a huge property, huge IP, and I suppose the simplest way to think of it is kind of events, right? So let's just take a Mobile World Congress, as an event. If you wanted to gain access to the people inside of Mobile World Congress, you wouldn't go and build the exact same event across the road, right? You'd go and sponsor the event, or you'd get your team to go there as delegates. You'd have a booth there, whatever it is. So we did a very similar approach to that. So we essentially created a booth inside of Livetopia, and that booth was called Qatar Adventure. So in it we had cultural assets like the Lusail Stadium where the World Cup final was. We had the Qatar Hotel. We had pearl diving, whale shark diving, jet skis, loads of different stuff. And we managed to create an experience within that environment that was native to the community. And they came back very, very positively. Overall, the experiences were close to 88%, I think it was off the top of my head, with a very positive experience, which is great. And then, like I said before, in terms of the tourism, 84% said they're now more likely to go and actually visit Qatar in real life. And we managed to get 1 million people every week playing the experience. And of those 1 million people, so 7 million in total, because it was a 7-week campaign, over 5 million were unique visitors. So it was really, really cool results. We're now starting the talks on what that looks like in the future. And hopefully there'll be a lot more to come later this year.
Excuse my ignorance, though. How do you measure that inside a gaming format in terms of what people think?
So we partnered with Nielsen Sports, who are kind of on the traditional sports space. They're the gold standard when it comes to media valuation and data and analysis on sponsorship properties, essentially, for sports. So we partnered with them and we built out a data and analysis package where we gathered a number of different bits of data, primarily through surveys, but also surveys in game, I should say. And these are generated by things called NPCs, which are non-playable characters. So we had, as part of the experience, we had traditional Qatari clothing in there, where you could go to a clothes store and download these digital items for your inventory. And so we had kind of local NPC Qataris in the experience, and they managed to generate 800,000 responses in 7 weeks, which is huge. If you said to somebody, I can give you 800,000 pieces of data in 7 weeks, then I imagine a lot of people are going to pay quite a bit of money for that. So we managed to ask 5 questions. Each question had a multiple answer of 2 or 3 responses. And that's how we would be able to gather all that data and make a really cool analysis of what we actually did and how we measured success.
Incredible. And do these not to know too much about your sales funnel here, but do people come to you now? Is it the government reaching out to you? How? I can't imagine the Qatari government coming to me. I mean, I'm not sure I have anything of value for them at the moment, but how does that even come about? How do you build that kind of pipeline where it's everything from sports to governmental institutions?
It's about understanding what categories are right when it comes to your business development and having a proposition that's tailored around that category. So, for example, sports is a natural fit in this world. Obviously, I've got experience working with Manchester City, building out their Blue Moon experience when I was at Carter. So it's about leveraging that proposition to make sure it speaks their language. Do governments actually reach out to me? No, it's more my network. This is a very new space when it comes to governments in particular, but the Japanese government have very recently done an experience on Roblox. The Singaporean government have also done something, as have the UAE. So you're starting to see these governments now start to move onto the platform. So maybe there'll hopefully be a few more reaching out, but at the moment it's leveraging network. And then on the business development side, it's making sure that we're targeted and specific, because our resources can be limited when it comes to business development. So it's about making sure we're targeted and specific at which one.
Okay, great case study though.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any, pardon me, if there's any governments listening, you know where to find Craig.
Exactly.
So, Craig, I have a noob
question.
I have a noob question. Like, so, after COVID, like everyone kind of rushed back to in-person events. Is that kind of affected your kind of prospects in any way, or do you think like because everyone switched to digital during COVID, is that kind of still I'm trying to phrase my question, so basically do you think that's kind of the physical offline events have affected the digital stuff, or is it kind of has it helped you? Has it grown your business?
Um, I'd say I'd say from our perspective, it hasn't impacted us in a negative way at all. I'd say there's probably been a bit more curiosity in regards to the digital side of events,
Mm-hmm.
which is a positive thing. I mean, let's just take the video games market, right? I mean, it's worth, I think, $240 billion
Yeah.
at the moment, right? And that's only going up. In terms of investment from brands, there was 800 million in gaming and esports in
Mm-hmm.
2023. So the spending's only increasing. So we're seeing all the positive impacts,
Yeah.
and it's from an event standpoint, it's actually a really good way to pivot. So if you're living in I don't know, America and the event's in Spain and you can't make it for whatever reason, a platform like Roblox is actually a really cool way to bring that physical environment into the digital and monetize it and engage it in that way. So we're seeing that kind of crossover happening a little bit, which is only a positive thing.
Cool.
Next HYPEWORKS event in Roblox, Alex. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I do feel like online there's a lot more chatter around events this past year, especially like there seems to be more and more kind of offline events going on, and I guess it's if it kind of all tides lift all boats kind of thing. Like even if it's offline, it still drives business for you guys, in gaming. Like if people are having gaming expos and gaming events.
I think on the esports side, when it comes to physical events like they're called LAN events,
Yeah,
I think that those type of ones are starting to really come back online, so to speak. The passion of the fans is very much there. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but in Brazil there was a Counter Strike tournament, and it was like tens of thousands of people just
yeah,
going wild. It was like a football stadium. So
yeah. I saw
those
that.
LAN
Yeah,
events are, yeah, it's really cool, right? I mean, those events are doing very, very well. I know ESL Face It have obviously merged, and they're doing a lot of really cool stuff as well. So yeah, I think on the esports side, those type of events are doing really well still, which is great because it's that hardcore community. And then on the kind of the gaming digital side, there's still opportunity there. You're seeing one or two maybe do a few things here or there, whether that's a virtual concert or whether it's a B2B networking event. You're starting to see it, but it's still its early adapter phase. But I personally think that you'll see more and more of that as the technology moves forward.
what's happening with the teams right now? I remember we talked about this before. Like,
Mm.
what's happening in the world of esports teams? Who's kind of hot and who's not, and
Well, the teams have gone through a lot over the last couple of years. The market very much, I mean, not a technical term, but the market did tank, and there's a number of different reasons for that. I personally believe. I think investor pressure, and I think when investors came into the space during the kind of the boom cycle from around 2017 to 2021, there was maybe a misaligned expectation of what esports was and how it could get to where it needed to get to. I think there was maybe a little bit of a leadership challenge in terms of how to actually deal with that revenue that was coming in from investors and how to allocate those resources in a more sustainable way for the business. And I think as a result, the industry went through a correction as the markets and the investors kind of started to pull out. And a lot of teams have pivoted or failed to exist now. So,
yeah,
Misfits Gaming, for example, where we did the Tezos deal, they're not even in esports anymore. Right, so they sold their LEC slot and they've pivoted massively into creators and Roblox, would you believe? So they kind of saw what was happening and they've shifted massively. Fnatic, where I used to work, they went through a correction, and now they're kind of setting themselves up for that next stage to get back up again. And I still talk to a few people there.
Yeah.
It's still an amazing place to work. They're still doing really well.
The one
but,
that I
yeah.
saw on the news was the FaZe guys, right? The FaZe clan, like they were the hottest team, and then they just completely kind of blew up, right, on the Nasdaq or stock exchange or whatever. Because was it valued at like over $1 billion, and then they kind of just write it down completely. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, FaZe is an interesting one. I mean, it was born out of Counter-Strike videos on YouTube, and then they morphed into an actual team. But it was creator first, which is definitely, they were in the right place and they capitalized on that. Then obviously went on to the Nasdaq, and I think as a result of that, there was maybe a leadership kind of power play maybe at hand. I don't know, because there was a lot of money to be had. And it seemed like there was a bit of a misalignment on where the brand should go. And as a result of that, the price went down along with the market. I believe they've got a new leadership structure in place now, and they're going to kind of reset and think about where they're going in the future. But yeah, great example of going like all the way from here to there in no time at all.
Yeah. Do you think like that's the best model for gaming companies, to be private and like long term? Like it's not like a typical business, right? In that way.
I think well, let's talk about esports teams in particular, rather than the gaming publishers, because they're very different. I think an esports team is very similar to a football club, right? It's typically a loss-making business. However, it has access to a very a real scaled audience, a global audience. So they have that value that's inherently built into the business from the get-go. And then it's just more around, well, how do you create different revenue streams that can help spread the risk from the initial kind of core pillar of what you do, which is esports games, right? So winning titles and competitions is harder than ever and more expensive than ever. So that's very high risk for an investor. But you can leverage that risk against, for example, an LEC slot, which is worth tens of millions of dollars. So there's a bit of risk hedging there. But then it's like, well, how do you make sure that that's not your only source of income? And that's where a lot of teams kind of, some got it right, some got it wrong, and it's a real difficult balance. So I would say private is probably best.
The thing is, there's football teams globally. Some are owned by private investors, and some are owned, by the fans in places like Italy and Argentina,
Germany.
So, yeah, exactly, Germany as well. So, do you think that is that happening in the gaming space, or is it currently just mostly private and the equity is coming from private investment?
So Fnatic actually did a crowdfunding. This is a few years ago now, where they gave fans the opportunity to actually own a piece of the business. So that was an interesting model. I believe it was successful in raising the capital that it was there to do. Excuse me. In terms of how, in terms of like decision making that the fan can have, obviously it's minimal / none. So I suppose it's kind of balancing that up. Do I believe that that's the model for esports? I don't think it's the right model. The overheads are too intense, and in esports, esports has very unique problems, right? When it comes to the talent themselves, when it comes to the operations of the business and what it actually is, and the fact that esports genuinely moves at light years. So it's like 1 year, it's kind of like dog years, right? It's like 1 year in esports is like 10 years in normal life, right? It moves so quick. And I think that makes it a unique business and a unique property. So yeah, I don't think fan model is the way forward personally.
I have another question. Blockchain tokenization of assets inside digital spaces. Is this something that's moving into even big publishers like Roblox?
I think blockchain's been around for such a long time, right? It's quite difficult to find where it hasn't been integrated in some capacity. I mean, Roblox has a marketplace. That marketplace is massive. For example, in Q4 of last year, it took in $1.1 billion in just one quarter. So it's a huge marketplace where these digital items are traded all the time. What they've done recently is they've made it where you don't make money off just the mint sale, you make it off the resale as well. As a creator. Now, obviously, I don't know the absolute ins and outs on the back end, but I imagine there's blockchain technology built into that to make sure that you know that item's genuine, right? It's kind of similar to skin trading in Counter-Strike. So, I think that technology's always been around for quite a while, to be honest. And I think in terms of Roblox specifically, is that going to scale? I think it kind of has to really, as the market gets more and more, as the market grows in terms of its cap. I think you have to have those technologies in there for authenticity. So especially on the marketplace.
I wonder if in the future people will be able to take those tokenized assets off Roblox and maybe exchange them in other marketplaces like OpenSea as an example.
Yeah, well, I mean, Roblox wants to keep everybody on the platform, right? And it wants it in its own ecosystem. It's kind of like Apple, when you buy a Mac, you're not just buying the Mac. You've got to get the phone, and then you've got to get the earphones, the earplugs, and everything in between. And now a VR headset. It's like Apple are very good at keeping you locked into ecosystem, and that's what Roblox are very good at as well. However, what we're seeing now is e-commerce. So Walmart, literally 2-3 days ago, they were the first ones to actually link a physical e-commerce product into Roblox. So you can now buy 3 items. One is a tote bag, one is some headphones, and the other is a water bottle. And you can buy that on Roblox as a kind of digital experience. But then that's linked to their e-commerce store, where that physical product will actually be delivered to you. So it's a bit different in terms of what you're talking about, trading those tokens across other games and other platforms, but it's kind of similar on the e-commerce side of things. So that's very much where things are going to head, which is really exciting.
Crazy. So there's a functional utility to the digital assets inside Roblox. I think
Correct.
Amazing. It could be, again, used on so many different platforms and so many different gaming formats.
Well, just imagine. Sorry, just real quickly. Just imagine a catwalk, right? So let's just take Milan Fashion Week. Imagine a catwalk where you've got your favorite model walking down in a particular item of clothing. You could potentially go onto Roblox now, like the look at on a digital avatar, see this catwalk in Roblox, and go, I really like that dress or whatever it is. And you can purchase that and then have that dress delivered to you in like 2-3 days. That's where we're heading, right? So it's really cool.
So that will save our girlfriends dragging us into Victoria's Secret then, and we're in the shop, right? We've got to sit there and wait for them.
Yeah, but potentially.
I'll sign up for that tomorrow. Give me that tomorrow. I'll do
it. So, Craig, we're into the final segment of this show. Hardcore listeners will know, but future predictions could be predictions for you, predictions within the industry, the world. What's going to happen in the next 10 years?
I think in terms of where the space that I live, I think that Roblox is going to become one of the biggest advertising platforms on the planet. And I think that every single brand should be in Roblox. And I think that we'll move to a space where adverts will be created in game engines, like the Unreal Engine. And I think you'll start to see TV adverts, but you'll start to see adverts now being developed, built, and distributed via these game engines. And you'll have character storytelling, technology storytelling, brand storytelling, all in one, all via these game design engines, and I think that's going to be super exciting. I'm just very happy to be a very small part of it and be at the start of this journey. So yeah, that's very much where I see things going.
I think you're dead right there, Craig. I saw a chart today. It said Facebook now has almost the same revenues as TV, all of TV, one company. So it's only going one way.
Yep. Exactly.
Any questions, Alex? Final questions?
Nah, man, like my head's exploding here. So many good topics we covered today. Like, I was a gamer like when I was a kid, and I need to get back into it. I need to, pick up a game. What game should we play? Yeah, GTA. There you go.
Yeah, GTA is brilliant. I mean, there's obviously a meme going around about GTA 6, right, and when it will finally release or whatever. But yeah, I think, look, man, like, I know it sounds a bit weird in one sense as grown men in particular, but yeah, download Roblox. Just give it a go, right? There's 17 plus experiences now where you can actually just go to a bar and get drunk, right? Which sounds weird, but it's a weird, fun thing to do. But just immerse yourself in the culture. Download Roblox and give it a go.
Have a go. These are rabbit holes. Whenever I go back to my parents, like I fire up Call of Duty on the phone, and then it's just like 5 hours is gone.
But it's like, and go on to Fortnite. They've done a brilliant thing with Lego recently. If you're into your first person shooters, and just go on there and just immerse yourself in it, because honestly, it's it's absolutely insane. If you like Sonic, excuse me. If you like Sonic the Hedgehog and used to play that when you were a kid, there's Sonic on Roblox, right? So you should go and play that. It's really cool. It brings back your kind of childhood memories. So just give it a go. That's what I encourage the most.
All right, there's our Friday night sorted.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Good episode. Let's have you on again in another 6 months, a year's time, Craig, and see what's changed.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully my rambles have been a bit valuable.
All right, take care. See ya.
Nice one. Cheers, guys.